Hi again. I am no stranger to the Atari Age forums. I had an account way back in the 90s because I was a Jaguar owner and I wanted to keep up on the latest developments with that doomed console. Now, Jetman UK recently set up a thread which is basically, are there games that are more fun than when you first played them after reading the manual for the game? Now, one of the games that I played that's on Atari Collection 2, which I have heard people say in the collector's thread, hey, if people actually read the manual, they might really get into this title. That's a game called Radar Lock. And in the video where I reviewed Atari Collection 2, I did note that. And I did note that I didn't know what the heck I was doing, and I found the game very unsatisfying to play. So, apropos of that, I thought as long as I've been turning on my Evercade again, I might as well give this a go after having read the manual. So, thanks to archive.org, I was able to find a scan of the original manual and give it a read. And in a lot of games, and this is where the peripheral angle comes in, for the Atari, they were fairly simple games. You had a joystick that could move in 8 different directions, although diagonals, depending on the title, could be a little tricky, and a single fire button. So, that seems incredibly limiting, and it is incredibly limiting. So for more ambitious titles, in some cases you connected a second joystick and then used the joystick positions as if they were buttons. For example, Raiders of the Lost Ark, and the game that I'm about to play again, Radar Lock. Now, because I have an Evercade, I didn't actually quite recognize the fact that it was in fact a dual stick game because I hadn't read the original manual. I simply went through here and said, okay, well, this button does this and this button does that. But I did want to make a note about the fact that Atari in fact did recognize a button shortage and came out with a peripheral called the Video Touchpad, which was a pack-in for Star Raiders. And that was later replaced effectively by the keypad controller, which didn't use overlays and had more conventional kind of clicky-click buttons than the big rubber rectangles of the touchpad that were not necessarily super responsive. But the games, the only true action type game that utilized that was in fact Star Raiders. And this is the problem with introducing peripherals. Noted with the Jag CD, for example, only a fifth of estimated Jaguar owners actually went and bought one. So as a consequence, when you're developing for the system, you're not necessarily going to be targeting the peripheral that not that many people own unless you think every one of them is going to buy my game. And the keypad support bears this out tremendously, as does the Indy 500 driving controller. So in the case of Star Raiders and Indy 500, they came packed in with controllers that were needed to play those games. A developer is not going to target that unless it has mass penetration. Which makes you wonder, of course, what if Atari had been a little more forward-thinking and had packed in a keypad controller with every Atari. Imagine the possibilities. Why, I might even be able to play Star Raiders on my 2600 Plus now. Anyway, so we'll see how I get on with Radar Lock in this revisiting. It may be that in order to fully appreciate it, I actually have to go and track down a cartridge and play it on the 2600 Plus. Let's find out and play some Atari. So you can see I put the new update for the Evercade on, so I have the library button on the screen. And as I suspected, every time you put a card in, the system helpfully says, hey, you have a collection of 3 cards. So I can say R1. Show owned. There we go. Wonderful, look at that. Isn't that cool? Eventually it will have all 30 whatever cards I own. When I eventually pop them all back in again. And who knows? In the course of doing so, there may be that some of them I no longer own. In which case I'll say, why can't I remove some of these? We will get to that someday. Anyway, we're here to play one specific game. Radar locks. Now, looking at here, as opposed to the manual doesn't actually list a full suite of controls. So this does suggest what I had said before, that the controls from joystick 2 on a 2600 have in fact been mapped successfully to the gamepad for the Evercade VS. So that's fine. So let's see what we've got here. D-pad to steer, jet, climb, drive. A button, which is the bottommost button of the 4 on the face. Fire weapon, control speed during refueling. B, which is the one to the upper right of the A button, says select proximity missile. X selects guided. Y selects machine gun. So the 3 select points are the buttons above the fire button. And if I go and look at the manual for this game, which I took the liberty of downloading so that I would actually know what the heck I was doing, the manual for this game indicates the controls on joystick 2 are up for machine gun, left for guided missiles, and right for proximity missiles. So we are mirroring that. Alright, now the main problem with this game is not knowing what the heck you're doing, because it does have a fairly complex screen. So let's fire it up. I can pause the game with L1. In the 2600 game, pause was achieved via the black and white color switch. And then select button or left right will allow you to choose between 1 and 2 player, because this is a red box late addition to the 2600 library that came out after the crash. So without further ado, now graphically this does look kind of like Solaris, and in fact from doing a little bit of research, this game is in fact sharing some code with Solaris. Not a big surprise. You know, Solaris was one of the last Gasp titles. Looks like we're getting a demo. From the manual, the initial takeoff is automated. And then you get into game proper once your plane's in the air. Radar, the missile lock radar, that's this area right here. Number of lives, these little triangles. This is your fuel gauge. This is your ammo reserves, also showing what gun is, or what weapon is currently selected, and this is your long-range radar, showing you where enemy fighters are. Top of the screen is your ammunition and your score. So that seems like it's pretty straightforward. So why couldn't I play this game? Why didn't I enjoy playing this game? And am I going to enjoy playing it now that I've read the manual? This is the key question. Okay. Oh. But there's a lot of freaking drones here. Alright, so that, okay, so it's green, and that dot means the refueling jet. So I'm the flashy dot, or I'm not the flashy dot. What did it say? No, I'm not the flashy dot. can't use my afterburners now. What? Oh, alright. So now I use the fire button to close with this jet. Got it. Okay. If I hadn't read the manual, I'd just be well, where the heck is it? Oh, there it is. Oh. Okay. Now what? Well, are you going to refuel me or not? What the heck am I supposed to... How do I know when I'm... Oh, where did it go? Oh, okay, so I wasn't close enough before. So you need to see the four the four rectangles on the jet. So if you only see 3 or 2, you're not close enough to the jet to refuel. All right. So a little better manual writing would have been nice. But you know, let's carry on now. Mission 2. Alright, now these guys are shooting at me. We've gone to we've graduated from Top Gun and we're into actual naval or air combat. They could have made this even more complicated by having altitude be relevant, and maybe it is. Oh, I got hit. Last ship, or, yeah, whatever. Okay, now, jet, and it's below me. Whoa, what the heck? Why is it going all over the place? Is it trying to keep away from me? What's the deal? Oh, there's still a baddie? There's a baddie on top of it? Well, that's not helpful. Yes, successful missile lock. Okay, I'm still fighting other things, obviously. I thought it was clear skies, and I was going for the refueling thing. I guess I should have known better, huh? Okay, now can I refuel? Nope, I'm still firing missiles. A white dot in the corner makes me think that it's still below me. Where the hell is the refueling jet? Oh, I'm still fighting bombers? Are you joking with this? We're gonna run out of juice soon. Ah. I'd really love to have a thing telling me how many enemies there were. Because I kept thinking, oh, I'm done now. And it's not. It is better. I will say, having read the manual, better experience. I think the manual isn't written well enough to completely clear up what the heck is you're supposed to do, but it allows you a greater degree of trial and error to truly crack the code of what you're supposed to do. And it's clearly, a little more involved game than just, hit this wave of baddies and then hit this wave of baddies and refuel and you're done. You've got to do a little bit of hunting. You've got to be clearly a little careful with your afterburners lest you end up splashing down instead of completing your mission. But not bad, and again, nice use. Evercade, they did pay attention to the controls of this game, and they did make full use of this controller so that you don't have to go and plug a second controller in, and you don't have to, fiddle about a lot. Default mapping is perfectly fine too. So, radar lock. Could be worth a look if you've got a 2600 or a 2600 Plus or a 7800 or a 2600 Junior or 2800 or any number of other machines that can run this game in some way, shape, or form. But the main thing is, remember to read the manual and keep gaming.